Hello viewers, welcome to our lecture series on marketing management, and in this very series we are going to talk about marketing research. This is going to be part 1 of my discussion on the topic of marketing research, and since I will be speaking it from the perspective of marketing management, I would only touch upon the broad contours of marketing research, what exactly we have to do into that, what is expected from us, what are the key concepts relating to marketing research, and we will have to understand their usage in the correct context, that in which context I am going to make use of marketing research, and also we will be talking about role of marketing research and its contribution to decision making in the marketing context, and eventually we will talk about the marketing information system, which is also known as MIS, and its various components, and eventually we will talk about MDSS, that is marketing decision support system. So with this as an agenda, I will be touching upon all the broad contours of marketing research. Now the question comes, what is marketing research? We all know about marketing, and of course marketing requires a lot of research in order to cater to the need of the customers. Unless we know the need of our customer, we cannot do justice to the process of to the entire purpose and process of marketing concept, wherein we have been talking about the deciding the target, having segmentation, targeting and positioning yourself, using integrated marketing. So all that is possible only with the help of marketing research. So we all understand that making a decision is very much important component of management of any organization, and largely we can say, broadly we say that management itself means decision making. If you are doing management, then of course the very basic function of management is to make decision. So in one way or the other, you are subjected to some kind of decision when you go for doing the management, and so is the case of marketing management, because here also we have to make certain decisions, we have to take certain decisions. So there are internal and external environmental information which reduces risk and makes decision making, which takes place in a dynamic environment, quite easier for us. So if we are taking informed decision, then of course the result are going to be as per the expectations which we are having from our decision making process. So data needs to be appropriate and in the correct format for the specific decision. If we are willing to make a decision which is informed and which is appropriate one, then of course it must be backed by, it must be supported by the appropriate data, the appropriate information, the appropriate knowledge of that particular context for which you are going to take or make any decision. Here, my dear learners, let me differentiate the basic difference between the two terms, decision making and decision taking. Decision making is normally done by the managers in usual course of their operations, wherein decision taking is to be done by the entrepreneur. So you are the one who is giving, who is proposing a specific decision in order to solve a specific set of problem, but it is the entrepreneur who is going to take a final decision about that particular context in which we are conducting the marketing research, we are collecting the data and then taking a specific decision for that specific context. So this data must be managed in such a way that the correct information can be made available to management as and when they are actually needing it, as and when they want it. It must be available to them in a requisite format, and of course the correctness of data is the most significant aspect of it. And for all this we need an information system, that is called marketing information system, which is also called as MIS. It is actually used to gather, filter, analyze, store and then make data and information available to management. So it is actually a complete system wherein we are getting the requisite data in its requisite format, or I would say it is a kind of perennial flow of data which is coming to the entire system, which is coming to the marketing manager as and when they need to take any decision or they need to make any decision for a specific context. So the question comes, what is the need for marketing information? Why do we need marketing information? What is the purpose behind it? We all know that knowledge is power. It is a common phrase which is often quoted in the business world, and marketing management is not devoid of it. Marketing, in the field of marketing also, we know that knowledge is the power. Unless you have the complete knowledge of the customer's need, you cannot do justice to their specific expectations, and forget about satisfying their needs or making them feel delighted. Time belongs to a situation where we are not only talking about making our customers feel satisfied, but we are going a step ahead and thinking that we are going to make our customers feel delighted. And from where this knowledge is going to come? We need that power, but what is the source of that power? That knowledge comes from information. That knowledge is actually coming from the requisite set of information which we need. Now the question comes, from where you will get information? Information will come from the data. It is the interpretation of data, whatever data you have. So you are getting information from data. And remember, my dear learners, not every set of data can be called as information. You have data, but are you able to understand? Are you able to draw the inferences out of the data which is available? And from where you will get the data? Data comes from marketing research. So it is a sequence here wherein you need to have that power in your hand. You know, knowledge is power, and for that knowledge you need information, and information comes from data, and data eventually comes from where? Marketing research. So we all understand that marketing information is very crucial for any organization, for any company. If it has to develop products and strategies which can keep or maintain pace with the changing environment. So we have to stay relevant in the marketplace. Marketing is all about staying relevant in the marketplace. So unless you stay relevant in the marketplace, then of course nobody is going to look at your product. Forget about buying, forget about purchasing your product. You have to maintain your pace with the changing marketing environment. That is actually the need of the hour. Now here comes the role of marketing research. Marketing research basically caters to two different but very important purposes. There are two different and significant purposes for which marketing research is being performed, for which marketing research is being conducted. The first one is that this marketing research is going to provide us the information about customer demand for products and services. We get to know about the customer's demand for a specific product and services with the help of marketing research only. So it is the marketing research which is providing me the information about the way customers are going to demand a particular product or services. It will also tell us about the pattern of demand in which the demand will actually flow to us, will come to us. And secondly, it is giving customers the opportunity to express their opinion, express their ideas, their views and needs, and in a way it influences the entire decision making process to ensure that they are getting the products and services which they actually wanted. Customer wants a required product, requisite product, the product which can exactly cater to their requirement, not anything. They want, a bundle of utilities. Customer doesn't want any product, customer want a need satisfier, and for satisfying that particular need, you are actually offering a bundle of utilities which is eventually called as a product. So this marketing research is helping both, not only the marketers but also the customer. It is providing information about the customers to the marketers. This is the first aspect, and second aspect is it is giving all the customers opportunity to express their views and also tell marketers that this is what we need. So it is serving to both the aspects of marketing. So it is not only helping marketers but also customers. So if you look at the organogram of this entire marketing research, you would find that it is actually working as a link between the organization and the customers, or we can say marketers and the customers. So organization, or whatever company you are serving, and of course the decision makers are the one who are going to make use of marketing research. So the flow of marketing research is coming from the marketing research department to the organization, also to the decision makers, also as an information. So whatever marketing research we are conducting, that research, the outcome of that research is actually transformed into an information, which means data is transformed into an information, and that particular information is routed to the organization that is called decision makers. So, this marketing research is, on one hand it is providing information to decision makers. On the other, if you look at the downside, part of this particular diagram, you will find that marketing research is, in turn, it is taking marketing decisions. So, whatever information you have, your decisions are a reflection of your research, its outcome, its information, and then you are transforming it to marketing decisions, and eventually it is coming to customers and society. So, in this entire process, if you look at the flow of this diagram, then of course, the customers and society, they are passing on the information to marketing research department as well. They are providing their information in terms of data, in terms of their responses, that is actually reaching to marketing research. So, my dear learners, it is actually acting as a link between the marketer and the customers, which is very important. The communication circuit need to be very proper, and the time belongs to communication. Unless you communicate, unless you express about your product, about your offerings, you cannot sell those products and services. And so is the case of customers. Unless they express and inform about their requisite needs, how can marketer think of satisfying those particular needs, forget about providing or transforming them into a product. So, customers are also supposed to inform, to provide information, requisite information to the marketers. So, it is all about that. That is why we are saying that nowadays marketers are talking about co-creation of a brand, that it is the marketer and the customer who are actually collectively going to create a specific brand which is going to be a successful one. So, this marketing research is actually acting as a bridge between the customers and the marketers. So, marketers are in very urgent need of this bridge, this flyover, with which they can actually speed up their entire procedure of segmentation, targeting and positioning. You can't position yourself unless you know about your target. So, you know about your target, that is okay, but what about your positioning? And for knowing your target, you need to conduct marketing research. So, my dear learners, this is actually a brief organogram of marketing research, stating or reflecting a link between the organization and the customers. Then comes marketing management in a developed community. What is happening nowadays? Marketing management in a developed community should be directed at the future. What marketing management should do? You should never think of the short term gains or short term profitability. If you wish to sustain yourself, then of course you will have to look at the future, and for that what we need to do? We need to perform certain duties. It will not come in a very natural manner, in a very obvious manner. You have to put some efforts into that, and for that the first effort is you have to anticipate environmental changes. What changes we are witnessing in terms of our political environment, our legal environment, socio-cultural environment, and of course the physical environment we always look at. So, we go for technological changes, we try to understand what kind of technological changes we are witnessing. So, it is basically an anticipation of pest, that is political, economic, social and technological. So, all dimensions of business environment need to be anticipated, need to be scanned, and then we should understand that what can be the possible changes into these components of marketing environment. So, the first step is we have to anticipate, and once we have done the anticipation, then of course we have to predict the direction and impact of these changes, that to what extent these changes are going to impact my marketing strategy or my particular offering, for which I am actually channelizing all my resources, channelizing all my efforts to succeed. So, we need to predict the direction also, that what would be the direction of these environmental changes in terms of my product or in terms of the industry to which I am catering to. And once I am aware of it, then of course I have to plan accordingly. So, all my strategies, all my plans must be directed or channelized accordingly. So, we have to understand that we are supposed to anticipate environmental changes, we have to predict the direction and impact of these changes, and accordingly we have to plan. Then comes what is the need hierarchy of the management. Management actually needs information about all possible internal and external environmental factors which can influence the organization's marketing affairs and results. So, management actually in urgent need of the information about all possible internal and external factors which can either directly or indirectly influence the company's marketing affairs and results. So, change in the internal and external environment which are putting pressure on the needs for marketing information, they may have multiple aspects, they can be of multiple dimension. So, what are those internal and external changes in environment which can put some kind of pressure on the need for marketing information? So, the first one is the socio-cultural change. For instance, increasing urbanization. We all know that socio-cultural change owing to increasing urbanization is actually the order of the day. We all understand that socio-cultural change is something which is inevitable, which nobody can avoid, regardless of to which part of the world you are talking about. In every part of the world there is an increasing rate of urbanization. The pace of urbanization is quite high. So, the socio-cultural changes like urbanization, technological changes, increasing the rate of literacy, all these things are actually contributing to the change in the socio-cultural aspect of the environment. Then comes technological progress. For instance, increasing use of computers, or what you call as information and communication technology. We all know that there is an increased consumer pressure also. Customers are increasingly demanding new products. They are interested in buying all new products which are coming in the market. For instance, air purifiers. The moment they were launched, everybody started thinking of buying it, because there is a lot of pressure in terms of the environmental awareness. Customers are increasingly aware about their health, about other concerns. So, they are actually willing to take up those products which are of course new in the market. There are certain competitive activities also, and out of all these, the most important and significant factor is the shorter product life cycles. Even the business formats, they are also being reduced to a very shorter span of time. Gone are the days when we used to go ahead with one particular business format for decades and decades. Even for centuries, we have been looking at a business format which was successful. From generation to generation, those formats were actually passing on. But now what is happening? Even the business formats, they are changing. When the pandemic of COVID-19 came, what happened? We were exposed to a new normal. So, nobody could even ever think of that this can also be a modus operandi of doing the marketing. This can also be a way of using the products and services. So, marketers had to incorporate those changes into their kitty. So, the shorter product life cycles, expansion into new markets, and of course, the management of multiple distribution channels, these are the key realities. So, if you look at the changes in specific components of marketing environment, you will find that almost each and every component is now dynamic in nature. There is no static feature of any of these what you call as components. The reason is very clear, because market is changing in a very rapid pace, and as a marketer we have to maintain our pace with that, otherwise we shall become redundant in the market. And the mool mantra of marketing is you have to stay relevant in the marketplace, and for doing that you have to do the environmental scanning, you have to make the predictions that whatever the changes are there, what kind of impact there would be on my product, and accordingly you have to plan. So, your plan should be ahead of the challenges which are coming. So, you have to be very proactive in terms of predicting, in terms of planning. And that is why nowadays, in order to have these marketing data, and after that when we have to analyze the data, we have analytics with us, wherein with the enormous data also we can draw inferences. So, time belongs to analytics. In marketing analytics, we are actually doing three different types of analysis. It can be predictive analysis, it can be descriptive analysis, it can be predictive, it can be descriptive, and it can be prescriptive. So, either you are making a prediction, or you are going for description, describing it, or of course, you have to go for prescribing certain solutions to that. Now, once we have understood why do we need information, why do we need data, why do we need marketing research. So, the question comes, we all understand that information will come from data and data will come from marketing research. So, what is the key role of marketing research? Marketing research is something which is inevitable, we can't avoid. So, what are the key roles of marketing research? So, the first and the foremost role of marketing research is that it is very much important to understand what marketing research can deliver to this entire marketing system. So, marketing research performs three significant roles, three important roles here. The first one is the descriptive research, the second one is diagnostic research, and third one is predictive research. In the corridors of marketing research, the role of predictive research is very prominent. Out of these three important roles, depending upon a situation, we go for choosing any one out of these three, or at times a combination of these two. Suppose I have to make a prediction for a specific market. I am going to enter into a new market and I have to go for demand forecasting. So, for the demand forecasting, the marketing research will have to perform the duty of predictive research, and it is going to be to predict or forecast the outcomes of new strategies which I am going to develop. I am going to enter into a new market. What will be the composition and direction of demand in that market? For that, while doing the marketing research, I shall be using predictive research design. Suppose if I have to describe a particular situation, I have to conduct a trend analysis, that in last 10 years what have been the demand pattern. So, for that we have to go for doing the time series analysis, and here comes the role of descriptive research, although that can also be used for predictive analysis. And sometimes in order to diagnose the impact of a certain event in a given situation, we do use marketing research, and there we call it as prescriptive or diagnostic research. So, my dear learners, marketing research performs three distinct roles, and that is what I said. The same is the case of analytics, wherein there are three different types of analysis which are being performed: descriptive, prescriptive, and of course predictive. So, there is an enormous increase in data which is available to management, which means that the emphasis is no longer on data collection but on data management. Now, nobody bothers about data collection because data is easily available. The moment you wish to present your wish, you express your wish that I need the data about this, there are certain data libraries where you are having enormous data available. Now, it should be your capacity to convert that data into an information and then make use of that information for your decision making. And for that ability, we are actually using the AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning to deal with the big data. We do talk about big data analytics. You have a national data available. Government of India publishes its economic survey, wherein you find the economic data of the entire nation, and so is the case of population census. So, that enormous data is available. Now, big data analytics is the solution to deal with those particular data. So, data needs to be available to the decision makers, to the right decision makers, I would say, at appropriate time, place, and of course, the requisite format. So, by simply providing data, you can't say that my job is done. It need to be available to the right decision makers at right time, place, and of course, in the right format. Now, the question comes, what is the difference between data and information? At times my learners ask me. Data refers to all available statistics, opinions, facts and predictions, but the information is the data component that is relevant to that particular decision in question. For a specific decision, if that data is relevant, then we call it information. So with this, my dear learners, I tried to provide you a brief intro of what marketing research is all about. In the next segment of my discussions, I'll be telling you about the way marketing research has been defined, what is the scope of marketing research, what is marketing information system. All that we shall be discussing in the next segment of my discussions on the topic of marketing research. I hope you must have enjoyed this very segment of my lectures on marketing research. Thank you so much.